Joining me now is Reince Priebus. He's the chairman of the Republican Party. He is in Milwaukee this morning. And Mr. Chairman, welcome to you. We want to get your reaction to some of the things that David Axelrod said. But first, you're out there to campaign for Republican Governor Scott Walker, who faces a recall election this week. I just wanted to get your sense of how you think it's going.
Well, I think it's going pretty well, Bob. But, you know, here in Wisconsin, we know as Republicans, we've got to keep our foot on the pedal, see this thing through the end. And, you know, the difference between Scott Walker and the president is pretty stark. You know, you mentioned it earlier, but Scott Walker is talking about his record. He's talking about the fact that his reforms are working, that people are getting back to work, that businesses are coming in. You know, people's property taxes have gone down. And, you know, you can't keep operating a government that spends more money than it takes in. So Scott Walker is one of these special people that have made promises and kept promises. You contrast that to David Axelrod's boss. He's a president who's in love with the sound of his own voice, but hasn't been able to follow through on too many promises. And so that's really David's problem and the president's problem. But fortunately for Scott Walker, he's got a record of keeping a promise. And that's special here. People appreciate folks that are strong and make promises and keep them.
Well, you say a president who's in love with his own voice, but I mean, that leads me to what you all were doing last week, and that is organizing a rally to try to drown out David Axelrod when he goes up to Boston. At the same time that out on the West Coast, Governor Romney was loading up reporters in a bus and taking them on a secret mission to the Salandra plant because he said he couldn't reveal where they were going. But he was fearful that Democrats would try to break that up. Isn't that kind of silly and petty when you look at it? This campaign should be, it seems to me, about very serious things and serious issues.
Well, I think Salandra is a serious thing, and I think highlighting Salandra, highlighting this president's foray into venture capitalism, using taxpayer money to send to Salandra, of which the Salandra executives were donors to Barack Obama. I mean, this is political cronyism in its worst form. Now, as far as David Axelrod and going to Boston, I mean, that's the height of a political stunt. I mean, what's the purpose of the Chicago clan going to Boston to hold some sort of political stunt? And for these tough guys from Boston now, I mean, excuse me, these tough guys from Chicago to cry about it, I just find it laughable.
So should we expect more of that?
Well, I mean, this is politics, and I think that, you know, rallies and protests and people getting out there and voicing their First Amendment rights is something that's pretty normal. And I just find it, I think it's amusing. I think that for David Axelrod, more importantly, to be somehow holding a public event over Mitt Romney's job record in Massachusetts, when if this president had Mitt Romney's job record, they'd be holding a carnival celebrating their successes. But they've failed so badly that they want us to believe that we're not living on Earth and that the president isn't the president, and all of these things that are going wrong have nothing to do with Barack Obama.
What about Governor Romney's plan to get people back to work? Will we ever hear him say anything beyond we've just got to make it more comfortable for business and getting rid of Barack Obama? Is he going to ever present anything really specific on how to get people back to work?
Well, Bob, I guess you're very good, but I just push back on this. If you go to mittromney.com, I think you would be stunned if you go to the issues page there and look at the detail in the plan that Mitt Romney has out there. He's been very specific. He's been specific about Keystone Pipeline. He's been specific about income tax cuts for everyone across the board by 20%. He's been specific about lowering the small business tax rate from 35% to 25%. He's been specific about what offshore, onshore drilling and all of the above energy policies he would pursue. He's been specific about getting rid of Obamacare and replacing it with something better, more market-driven. I would just challenge you and anybody to go to mittromney.com, look at these policies. He's been very specific. You contrast that to the president. I mean, he's the one that made promises about cutting the deficit in half. He made promises about the debt. He made promises about jobs after spending $1 trillion. We are living in the Obama economy that was set up by Harry Reid, Nancy Pelosi, and Barack Obama. I mean, Barack Obama's going out to rallies, Bob, and saying, are you satisfied? As if he's not the president. No, we're not satisfied, and you're the president, and you have an inability to lead this country.
But Mr. Priebus, you're not saying that the economy was in great shape when President Obama took the oath. It seems to me there might have been a couple of little problems before that.
Well, listen, I'm not disagreeing with you that there were challenges, but what I am telling you is that he made everything worse, number one. But number two, and more importantly, he made promises to the American people. He made a promise on the debt, the deficit, jobs, lobbyists, green energy, gasoline. I mean, you name it. He was the promise king. And he hasn't followed through on any of it, and he went the opposite direction. You know what? People are looking for real, authentic people in this country to keep their word, and this president can't do it.
All right. Well, thank you very much, Mr. Priebus.
Bob,
hope to have you again.
Thank you, sir.